big news in the NHL world today, especially if you are an Ottawa Senators fan. If you didn't hear a couple days ago, there was also some massive news about restricted free agent Shane Pinto, who was holding out for a contract. He was suspended 41 games for gambling, so it was against the NHL gambling policy. 41 games, so he's gonna have to sign some sort of deal to make that all happen. That's a whole nother mess. But today we're gonna be talking about two main things, and the first thing is the discipline received from the NHL to the Ottawa Senators for their part in the Vegas Golden Knight trade of Evgeny Dadonov. So if you haven't heard before of what this is, in 2021, when Evgeny Dadonov was an Ottawa Senator and they traded him over to the Vegas Golden Knights, they as in the Ottawa Senators, failed to tell Vegas that Evgeny Dadonov had a no trade clause, which made Vegas not know that they cannot trade Evgeny Dadonov to certain teams, and that kind of backfired as the Golden Knights tried to trade Evgeny Dadonov to the Anaheim Ducks, but it had it that Evgeny Dadonov had the Anaheim Ducks as one of his no trade clause teams. I know that's a messy explanation, but essentially Ottawa did not tell Vegas that there was a no trade clause involved in the contract of Evgeny Dadonov, made the trade. Golden Knights tried to trade him to Anaheim. Anaheim accepted the deal, but then the league had to step in and cancel the trade as they were on the no trade clause. And because of this, the Ottawa Senators have been disciplined. So their discipline is they are losing a first round selection in the NHL 2024, 2025, or 2026 draft. So not all three. They're going to be losing one selection, and the Ottawa Senators do get to choose which one it is, but obviously a very, very aggressive penalty for the Ottawa Senators. But we can read exactly what has been said by the NHL press release. The National Hockey League today announced that the Ottawa Senators will forfeit a first round selection for their role in the 2021 trade of player Evgeny Dadonov from the Ottawa Senators to the Vegas Golden Knights, and the Dadonov being traded eventually from the Golden Knights to the Anaheim Ducks. Ottawa will forfeit their first round draft pick from one of the following drafts: 2024, 2025, or 2026. The determination as to which pick will be forfeited will be made by the Ottawa Senators within 24 hours of the conclusion of the draft lottery for that year. The league will have no further comment on this matter. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of crazy comments in here that I won't get into or like by accident, but long story short, the Ottawa Senators do lose a first round selection. I imagine there will be a little bit of a backlash on this and kind of more of an investigation, but we'll see how that plays out. And due to this, the next big news is Ottawa Senators GM Pierre Dorion has been relieved of his duties by the Ottawa Senators after 8 seasons and one 73-page report following Evgeny Dadonov trade. And then in the meantime, Steve Staios, I don't know too much about him, will serve as the interim general manager. Personally, I'm an Ottawa Senators fan. I think this had to happen. If you're going to make a mistake that big, you got to get fired. It's just the way it goes. The interesting thing will be what the Ottawa Senators end up doing with head coach DJ Smith. For me, I've been saying fire DJ for about 3 to 4 years, but hasn't been done yet. But I think this is a perfect time for the Ottawa Senators to really reevaluate that head coach situation. The only challenge is, say you do fire DJ Smith right now. Who would you want Ottawa Senator fans to bring in as the new head coach? Obviously, there's always going to be head coaches out there, but who would you want to bring in? Personally, I don't have a name, so I can't bring one out there. I mean, Daniel Ofston just joined as player head coach. Might as well add him in as the head coach, follow the role of Marty St. Louis. But big news, definitely getting fired. And that's not all of the news. The new owner of the Ottawa Senators, Michael Andler, I don't know how to pronounce his name, had some unbelievable quotes during the press conference today as they talked about the Pinto situation, the Dorion situation, and just a little bit more about everything. So let's check out some of his quotes here. So first one, why I inherited this is beyond me. So I guess he's talking about some of these things were happening 3 years ago. He was definitely not made aware of this. via the contract that he signed when he bought the Ottawa Senators, obviously. The next one is 3-game losing streak, 3 injuries, and 2 disturbing phone calls from the NHL. Just another iconic line. Obviously, the injuries on the back end are going to come from the defensive core of Thomas Chabot, Eric Brandstrom, and then finally, who's the last one? It's escaping my head here. Artem Zub, if I can think straight. And then 2 calls, obviously, the Dorion situation where they lost their first round pick, and then the Shane Pinto situation. And then here's another one. Actions originated by our hockey club were neglected in nature, and our duty of care was ignored, which set off events that embarrassed the league and pissed off 2 other NHL clubs. And then this one is one of my favorite lines. I'm looking forward to less phone calls from the NHL. And then this is in regards of the Shane Pinto situation. You look at a young man who is making millions of dollars, but he's 21 years old. Wayne Gretzky goes on MGM, he's talking about BetMGM, and talks about betting. Think about being injured, having nothing but time on your hands and a cell phone. I mean, as someone who loves to gamble, I truly understand this. But that is all the news in terms of the Ottawa Senators. Obviously, Twitter is going to be going crazy right here, where a lot of people do think that this is going to just keep going. But a lot of people do think that this was a little bit of an excessive fine. So let me know what you think down in the comments below. There's been also a lot of things saying Ottawa didn't really like Pierre Dorion. Resigned, fired, met with it. Pierre Dorion last night for the penalty and forfeit pick should be no less than his job. This could have been avoided. Dorion agreed, and they parted ways. So it looks like it was mutual. I mean, after a situation of losing your first round pick, you got to understand that most likely you're going to lose your job, and that's just what it is. Here we got Paul Bissonnette taking his credit or his thoughts on this. This is insane. Probably agree with him, but I think the highlight of this all was the owner. At least he now has passion. So Sens fans, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I think this is a good thing. Getting rid of, obviously not losing the first round pick, that's awful. But getting rid of Pierre Dorion is step 1. Step 2, let's get rid of DJ Smith and let's really rebuild our front office. And let me know in the comments below what you think, what the Ottawa Senators should do. And if you're not following NHL discussion, you got to follow them. These guys are the best page ever. They have all the highlights. You got great Connor McDavid content, stepping away for Nick Backstrom, which is very unfortunate. You got retirements. Who is this? Paul Stastny is retiring. It just tells you everything stays up to date. But have a great day, and I'll